Before we begin, if stories like this move you, if you believe talent should never be silenced by prejudice, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell. You won't want to miss what happens next. Son, you don't belong on this court. Pack your bag, you're done. The gym went silent. 3,000 people in the stands. Cameras rolling for the regional broadcast. A 17-year-old boy in a practice jersey standing at center court, holding a basketball he had just sunk from 30 feet out. The coach pointed at the locker room door, loud enough for every microphone in the building to catch it. I said, pack your bag, you're not good enough for this program, never were. The boy didn't move. He didn't argue. He just looked at the coach the way you look at something you've already figured out. His jaw tight, his eyes steady, the ball still in his hands. In the front row, a man in a navy suit set down his clipboard. He didn't say anything yet, but he was watching. And what he was about to say in front of those 3,000 people and every camera in that gym was going to flip this entire town upside down. Let me take you back, 6 hours before that cut. Before the broadcast, before the stands erupted. His name was Marcus Trent, 17 years old, 6'5", senior at Westbrook High School in a small Ohio town where Friday night basketball wasn't just a sport. It was the only thing that mattered. Marcus had been playing basketball since he was 6. His father, a mechanic who worked 12-hour shifts at the plant, had built him a hoop in the backyard out of plywood and an old rim from the scrap yard. His father had passed away 2 years ago, heart attack at 43. Marcus had played through the funeral. He played because stopping felt like losing his father all over again. His mother, Denise, worked 2 jobs. She had never missed one of his games, not one. Marcus was good, not just high school good, scary good. He could shoot from anywhere on the court. He could read a play 3 seconds before it happened. He had the kind of quiet court presence that coaches at the college level spend careers looking for and almost never find. But Marcus was black, and Westbrook High School was 94% white. And the head coach, a man named Dale Harkins, had been running that program for 22 years. Coach Harkins was 58 years old. He had a framed photo of his 2003 state championship team on his office wall. That team had been all white, every player. He talked about those boys the way some men talk about their own sons. Marcus had made varsity as a sophomore. He'd made it because he was too good to ignore. But Harkins had benched him for most of that first season. Gave the starting spots to seniors who couldn't hit a jump shot from 10 feet out. Marcus never complained. He just worked harder. He showed up at 5 in the morning to shoot free throws before school. He watched game film on a second-hand laptop his mother had bought at a thrift store for $40. By his junior year, Marcus was averaging 28 points a game. The local newspaper called him the most gifted player in Westbrook history. College scouts started showing up. Ohio State, Michigan, Duke. They sat in the stands with their notebooks and watched Marcus Trent play. Coach Harkins didn't like it. He didn't like the attention going to one player. He especially didn't like which player it was going to. That Friday night was supposed to be Marcus's showcase. The regional televised broadcast. Every local affiliate had a camera in the building. And sitting in the front row, right behind the bench, was a scout named Ray Coleman, 54 years old. Former NBA point guard. Currently the head scout for the Cleveland Cavaliers organization, with a direct line to 3 Division I programs and 2 professional teams overseas. Because what Ray Coleman was about to see that night was going to make him do something he had never done in his 20-year scouting career. Warm-up started at 6:45. Marcus was on fire, 3-pointers, crossovers. A behind-the-back pass that made the crowd gasp during layup drills. The cameras zoomed in on him. His mother in the bleachers was already wiping her eyes. Coach Harkins stood at the sideline with his arms crossed. His face was red. Not from heat, from something else. At 6:58, he called Marcus over. Marcus jogged to the sideline, towel around his neck. Yes, coach, you're not starting tonight, Marcus blinked. Sir, you heard me. You're coming off the bench. I'm starting Connor. Connor was a senior, a decent player, but not in the same universe as Marcus. Everyone in the building knew it. Connor's father was on the school board. Marcus didn't argue. He just nodded once. Yes, coach. But the assistant coach, a younger man named Wilson who had been quietly documenting Harkins' decisions for 2 years, looked at his clipboard and closed his eyes. He knew what was happening. He had seen it building for weeks. The game started. Westbrook fell behind fast. Connor missed 3 shots in the first 4 minutes, turned the ball over twice. The opposing team, a powerhouse from Columbus, was up by 14 in the first quarter. The crowd started to murmur. Put Marcus in. Come on, coach, put him in. Harkins kept Marcus on the bench for the entire first quarter, then the second. Marcus sat there with his head up, his face calm, his hands folded in his lap. His mother in the stands pressed her fingers against her mouth. She knew her son. She knew what this was costing him. In the front row, Ray Coleman watched. He didn't write anything in his notebook. He just watched. Halftime. Westbrook was down 22. The home crowd was booing, not the team, the coach. In the locker room, Harkins finally snapped. Marcus, get in the game. Try not to embarrass us worse than we already are. Marcus stood up. He didn't respond to the insult. He just laced his shoes and walked to the court. What happened in the third quarter, people in Westbrook still talk about. Marcus scored 21 points in 12 minutes. He hit 6 three-pointers. He blocked 3 shots. He had 4 assists. The crowd was on its feet. The cameras couldn't stop following him, and that's when it happened. 2 minutes into the fourth quarter, Marcus drove the lane. He passed to Connor for an open layup. Connor missed. Marcus grabbed the rebound, put it back up, and scored. But as he came down, Connor bumped into him from behind. Hard, deliberately, Marcus stumbled. He caught himself. He didn't push back. He just turned and ran down the court. The referee didn't call anything, but Coach Harkins blew his whistle. Loud, he stood up from the bench and pointed at Marcus. "You're out of the game." The entire gym went quiet. 3,000 people, every camera zoomed in. Marcus walked to the bench, confused. "Coach, I didn't do anything." "I said you're out, sit down." Marcus sat. He kept his face still, but his hands were shaking. Then Harkins did something nobody expected. He walked over to Marcus, in front of the cameras, in front of the crowd, in front of everybody. And he said, loud enough for every microphone to catch it, "Son, you don't belong on this court. Pack your bag, you're done." Marcus's mother stood up in the stands, her hand over her mouth. Marcus looked up at the coach. His voice was quiet but clear. "Coach, I scored 21 points. We tied the game. I don't care what you did. You're not the kind of player this program needs. Never were. Pack your bag and get out of my gym." The broadcast cut to commercial, but the cameras in the gym kept rolling. The online stream kept running. And what happened next, every single person in that building would talk about for the rest of their lives. Marcus stood up. He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He walked to the bench, picked up his bag, and started toward the locker room tunnel. The crowd started booing, not Marcus, the coach. It got louder and louder. Someone in the stands shouted, "Shame on you, Harkins." Then another voice, then another. And that's when Ray Coleman stood up, the man in the navy suit. The scout in the front row. He set down his clipboard. He walked onto the court, not toward the coach, toward the boy. He caught Marcus halfway to the tunnel. He put a hand on his shoulder. He turned him around gently. Then he walked Marcus back to center court, right in front of the scorer's table, right where every camera could see. Coach Harkins stared at him. "Who the hell are you? Get off my court." Ray Coleman didn't answer the coach. He picked up the nearest microphone from the broadcast table. He tapped it twice. He spoke calmly, evenly, his voice carrying through the speakers of the entire gym. "My name is Ray Coleman. I'm the head scout for the Cleveland Cavaliers." The gym went so quiet you could hear the ventilation fans. "I've been scouting basketball talent for 22 years. I've seen thousands of high school players. I've recommended 97 of them to Division I programs. 43 of them went on to play professionally. I don't come out for games I'm not sure about. I don't waste flights." He paused. He looked at Marcus. Then he looked directly at Coach Harkins. "I flew in tonight to watch Marcus Trent. I've been watching him for 6 months, quietly. I wanted to see what he did when nobody was looking. I wanted to see how he handled a bad night. I wanted to see how he handled an unfair call. I wanted to see how he handled a coach who didn't want him on the court." Harkins's face had gone the color of chalk. "Tonight, I got my answer. Marcus Trent is the best high school basketball prospect I have seen in 20 years. Not the best black prospect. Not the best prospect from Ohio. The best prospect I have seen, period, in 2 decades of this job." The gym was frozen. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Marcus's mother, up in the stands, sank slowly into her seat with tears streaming down her face. "I came here tonight to offer him a full recommendation to 3 Division I programs and to place him on the priority watch list for our organization's development program." Ray Coleman turned and faced the coach directly. "But I just watched this coach cut a 17-year-old kid from his team on live television after that. Kid dropped 21 points in a quarter and tied the game. I just watched him tell that kid he doesn't belong on this court, so I'm going to make my offer now, publicly, where this coach can hear it." He turned back to Marcus. "Marcus, son, you don't need this program. You don't need this coach. You don't need this gym. I am prepared to personally sponsor your placement at any of 3 top-tier basketball academies in the country, starting as early as next week. Full scholarship, full housing, full academic support. All 3 programs are expecting my call tomorrow morning. The question is yours, not his. Marcus stood there, his bag still in his hand, his eyes wet but his face still calm. He couldn't speak. Ray Coleman turned back to Coach Harkins one last time. His voice dropped. It didn't get quieter, it got sharper. You had the best player this state has produced in 20 years sitting on your bench. You didn't see him. Or worse, you saw him, and you decided he wasn't worth seeing. I don't know which one is worse. But in 20 years of doing this job, I have never walked into a high school gym and watched a coach throw away a generational talent because of his own prejudice. Until tonight, he set the microphone down, and then the stands erupted. It started with one person, a father in the 3rd row who stood up and clapped, then another, then a whole section, then the entire gym. 3,000 people on their feet, clapping, screaming, calling Marcus's name. Marcus's mother ran down the bleacher stairs. She crossed the court. She grabbed her son and held him so tight his bag dropped to the floor. Coach Harkins stood there alone at center court. Nobody was looking at him. Nobody was listening to him. He had become, in the span of 90 seconds, completely invisible. The clip went viral by midnight. 42 million views in 12 hours. Every major sports network picked it up. ESPN, Bleacher Report, The Undefeated. It ran on the morning news across the country. The headline everywhere was the same. Coach cuts black teen from team on live TV. Scout calls him best prospect in 20 years. Coach Dale Harkins was placed on administrative leave by 9 a.m. Saturday morning. The school board met in emergency session that afternoon. Assistant Coach Wilson submitted his documentation. 2 years of notes, dates, times, benching patterns, comments made in private. A quiet paper trail he had been building because he knew someday somebody would need it. 3 former players came forward over the next week. 2 had been pushed off the team in earlier years. Both were black. One of them, a young man named Jamal, hadn't touched a ball in 4 years. He called Marcus's mother that weekend. He was crying. He said, "Tell your son thank you, he just proved I wasn't crazy." Within 3 weeks, Coach Harkins was terminated. 22 years ended with a press release that took up less than a page. His championship photo came off the office wall. His plaque came down from the gymnasium. He moved away from Westbrook that summer. Nobody knows where. Marcus didn't go to a basketball academy right away. He stayed at Westbrook to finish his senior year. Not because he needed to, because his mother asked him to. Assistant Coach Wilson was promoted to head coach. His first act was to put Marcus back on the team. His second act was to make Marcus team captain. The team finished the season 19-4. They lost in the state semifinals. Marcus scored 41 points in that final game. Ray Coleman was in the stands. In the spring, Marcus signed a full scholarship letter of intent to a Division I program on national television. His mother cried. Jamal, the former player who had given up basketball, stood next to him on stage. Marcus had asked him to be there. When a reporter asked Marcus what he would say to the coach who had cut him, he thought about it for a long time. Then he said simply, "I'd tell him thank you, not for what he did, for what he taught me. He taught me that some people are going to look at you and decide you don't belong. And you can spend your whole life trying to convince them. Or you can just keep playing your game until somebody shows up who sees you for who you are." He paused. Then he added, "My father used to tell me the ball doesn't care what you look like. The ball only cares if you can play. I believed him then. I believe him now." Ray Coleman, watching that interview from his office in Cleveland, smiled and closed his laptop. Here's what's real. In the United States, black student athletes in predominantly white high schools are benched, disciplined, and cut from teams at nearly twice the rate of their white teammates, even when their performance metrics are equal or higher. Countless talented kids walk away from sports every year, not because they aren't good enough, but because the people holding the clipboard decided they weren't the right fit. Most of them never get a Ray Coleman. Most of them just go home. Marcus Trent was one of the lucky ones, not because he was talented. There are thousands of talented kids, but because somebody with power finally decided to use it in the right direction, at the right moment, on live television, in front of 3,000 people who would never forget what they saw. So let me ask you something. Have you ever watched someone with real talent get pushed aside because they didn't look the part? Have you ever been the person in the stands who knew it was wrong but told yourself it wasn't your place? Or have you ever been the one holding the clipboard, telling yourself your decision had nothing to do with what you thought it had nothing to do with? Because here's the thing. Somebody in your life right now is waiting for you to stand up. Somebody is on the bench, wondering if anyone in the stands sees them. And somebody else is not coming. Somebody else is you. Somebody else has always been you. If this story moved you, drop your story in the comments below. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. And hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because stories about talent, about courage, about standing up when it matters most, they need to be told. Until next time, stay strong, and never let anyone tell you that you don't belong on the court.